Good morning. Fingers. stillness. But sell. Took it. He pulled. Sell it. All right, folks, good morning. That was sprint number 1. I'm going to be right back, and then I will answer your question, and then we'll keep rolling on sprints. All right, so a couple of things. Royal Road is significantly busier now than it was when I was originally posting. And so what you're talking about is very much the case. Like, that is just how it's going to be. Now, part of the problem is that you are not scheduling. And part of the other problem is, as Mark says, the time of day that you're picking isn't good. However, reality is you're just going to be competing against a ton of people all of the time. The power of scheduling, though, allows us to just say, okay, I'm going to upload today and everything's going to go out tomorrow, right? And everything's going to go out starting at 11 o'clock, right? And it's going to post through 2 o'clock. And I'll just post every 5 minutes or so. Because what scheduling allows us to do is it allows us to set like a 5-minute increment or a 6-minute increment, right? So yes, if every chapter you post gets buried within 10 minutes, you can still just put out new content every, 4 minutes or 6 minutes or whatever you want to do. And that's going to keep you in the top range enough that you'll be able to gain a little bit of traction. The reality is that you are not going to get, you're going to get a couple people from your post, like your new posts. But again, you're competing against so many people that the number of people you're going to get will be lower, right? It is harder to get attention that way. Really, again, the goal is to get 20,000 words out and then to hopefully get on Rising Stars. This is why everybody does swaps. This is why everybody posts on Facebook about their stories. This is why, everybody uses other mechanisms as well. Regarding how when you move from Scrivener to Royal Road, it puts spaces in between. If you go to Drive first, like if you post all of your stuff from Scrivener into a Google Doc and then copy from Google Docs into Royal Road, I don't think it adds the spaces. But if you go from Scrivener directly in, then it will certainly add the spaces. So the reality is that it's just hard. And you're just going to have to sort of deal with that. But you can mitigate to a degree by not just posting your chapters, but by instead scheduling them. And that it's annoying to do, but you just have to post them, like you upload them all today and you have them go out tomorrow, right? Or you upload them all today and you have them go out in a week after you've set up swaps or whatever you want to do. Again, I wouldn't worry about it too much. People will still find your stuff if they're looking in those categories. And so that's the other piece that you want to make sure you're doing well, is you want to be tagging it properly so that people can find it. Because people will often look for new chapters posted or new stories in this category, right? Because that's what they want to read. But yeah, Royal Road is way busier now than when I was first posting. I mean, even then it was busy, but it was reasonable that for like half an hour, 40 minutes, you would stay, as long as you weren't posting at like the first thing in the morning, which is again like 8 o'clock, or at noon. You would typically be able to stay on the like just posted for about half an hour or so. Now it sounds like it's moving way faster. Yep. So anyway, hope that's helpful. Royal Road is constantly changing. Everything is constantly speeding up in publishing. All right. We're going to get into our next sprint. 1 second. I just had a thought. All right. Let's go ahead and keep sprinting. Doesn't matter. when I have on the prison. Standing. Mage who skull. off any... The blood... Mag. All right, folks. I'm going to grab another cup of coffee. I really need to cut down on my caffeine consumption. Like, really. But not today. I say that every day. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to go get some coffee. I'll be right back. That was sprint number 2. We're going to keep running these sprints as we get going. I actually definitely want an espresso machine. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? All right. Boom. All right. Oh, goodness. Hey, look, it's launch day today. So, Exilian Syndrome 5 came out yesterday. Super pumped about that. Shattered Glory is doing great. It got a bestseller tag in post-apocalyptic science fiction, which I am incredibly happy about. Very pleased. I really hope everybody loves it. But I gotta tell you, it's kind of hilarious because a new book came out today. Tower 9, Warborn, came out. And first of all, I love the cover. I think the cover is so cool. And so that came out today, and Shattered Glory came out yesterday. And so I don't know which one to post about. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I don't know, folks. You know, I've been trying to figure out why I've been so like resistant to writing over the last couple of days, and I think this is a major part of it. Just, you know, somebody asked me recently, do I still get nervous when books come out? And I don't get nervous in the way that most people get nervous, but I often find that my creativity is like that my brain is very scattered when I have launches. On like a launch day, I typically am very scattered. Like my ADD is just like cranked, like really hard. And I don't use medication to address any of my issues. I use systems, right? I use like what would you call it? I use, well, systems is what you would call it. I organize my life in particular ways to make it easier for me to concentrate and for me to manage my ADD. Well, on launch days, often around launches, I tend to get like way more scattered than I was, or than I am normally. So, and I get very angsty. And so that's where I've been sitting for the last couple of days, because I had these 2 launches right back to back. I don't know. I don't know, folks. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of the tower covers are really, really good. I like them quite a bit. All right. We're going to kick off another sprint. But I am legitimately not sure how long I'm going to last this morning. I might end up needing to pace. But we're gonna keep going because it's important. Yeah. I gotta keep telling myself that. You know, I used to do something that I think was smart, and I really should get back to it, which is that I just always took launch days off, and I would just take them off completely, and I would just be off, because doing creative work on launch days is often less effective because I get very in my head. I don't know how else to describe it. At the same time, I really want to make progress on this book. Paperback, $58. What? That's weird. That's funny. Oh my goodness. Only a couple of days. I mean, it's only going to be like 12 days a year. That's fine. I try not to as much as possible watch Amazon. I used to watch it like a hawk for like a week around my launches. I am thankfully off of that. I'm off of that. Okay. What do you guys think? What do you think? What's up? How you doing, Harlan? All right. We've got two. I've got two. Or my blah, 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 blah. See? I'm just absolutely scattered. So if anybody has any questions, now's the time to ask them. Because I don't know how long this is going to last. Just full disclosure. All right. Alp, I would recommend that you wait until you understand your cadence. So one of the most important things you can do is set a regular cadence. And so if you are confident that you can write a book every month, then you can set your cadence whatever you want to be. But if it's going to take you 6 months to write a book, I would generally wait and write and publish the book. I would wait until you understand that before you publish your first book. And the reason for that is because it's very helpful to have a pre-order up for book 2 when book 1 drops. It's very helpful to have a pre-order up for book 3 when book 2 drops, right? You want to always have the pre-order for the next book out a couple of days early. And the reason is because you want to be able to capture the impulse buy at the end, which is like, yeah, I really like this. I'm looking forward to the next one. I'll go ahead and click the button to make sure that I get it, right? So you want to make sure that you have that. You also want to just have a good sense of what your cadence is so that you're not, writing 4 books, dumping them all on the market within a 4-month span or a 6-month span, and then having to wait for another 8 months before you release your next book, if that makes sense. Consistency is one of the things that helps us build consistency on our release schedule, helps us build consistency in our customers' purchasing habit, if that makes sense. So I know that's not a direct answer. Josh, here's the thing, is that all advice is just advice. You can do everything wrong. I know people who did that and it has worked out for them. I know people who just went, oh, I wrote a book, let me put it on Amazon. And then it worked out, right? Because they just happened to hit the right timing for it. The right conditions were there. But advice is just advice. And you don't ever have to be worried that you're going to do something wrong, right? If you do something wrong, then you just say, okay, cool, that's a lesson, and then I do it again, right? And I think that is the single biggest framing. All right. Since I can't concentrate anyways, it's going to be a bit of a rant time. So let's kill the music, and I'm going to give you guys the single biggest framing, or what I think is the single biggest framing that you need as an author in order to succeed. And this is a framing that will completely change the way that you think about your career, your stories, everything that you do as an author. In my opinion, this is the single framing that has helped me get where I am more than anything else that I've done. Okay. I talked a little bit about it yesterday on the stream. And I've been thinking about it more actually for myself today. And it is this. We are going to do it again. Every time I take an action, in the back of my head, there's a little voice that says, we're going to do this again. And that allows me to do 2 different things. First of all, it allows me to understand that there is no unrecoverable mistake. Even if I mess up, I'm just going to be doing it again, which means that I can learn my lesson and I can just do it again. And I can do it better the next time, right? So if I publish a book and I make a mistake in publishing the book, let's say I pick the wrong cover, I pick the wrong categories, my title is wrong, it screws up all of my targeting, I don't do the promotion that I should have done, or I do too much of the wrong kind of promotion. And I've made all of these mistakes, right? I'm just repeating things that I've done in the past. Every single time, afterward, I go, oh, that sucks. That was a mistake, right? I can recognize what was wrong. And then I say, cool, do it again. And then after that, I make another mistake, let's say, maybe a different mistake. I correct the first mistakes, but make it a different mistake. Cool, do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. Right? We're always going to do it again. I'm not going to write a book, become an international bestseller with one book, and then retire to, my mansion on the beach off of that one book. That is just not going to happen. Because even if I wrote an international bestseller, even if I had enough money to retire to a mansion on the beach, I would want to write another book. I'm going to do it again. The story that is burning, in my soul and desperately wants to come out onto the page is important. And I should give it everything I have, right? I should give it all of my creative energy, all of my my skill. I should make it the best book it can possibly be. But as soon as I put that last period down, as soon as I write the end or to be continued, as soon as I publish it, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it again. I'm going to write another book. I'm going to continue writing and continue publishing and continue going forward. And so often we get locked into this idea that the thing we're doing now is the only thing, right? We have one shot. This is my chance. No, that's not how life works. And if you look at the people who have succeeded to the greatest degree in anything, they've all done it again. When you take a shot in basketball, I don't play basketball. I don't even really like basketball, but my son really likes basketball. And so I spend a fair amount of time hearing about basketball or thinking about basketball because he likes it. And when you take a shot in basketball, if you make a basket, that's great, but you have to do it again, right? You don't win a game by making one basket. You win a game by making as many as you possibly can. And you don't shoot and miss and then go, oh, bummer, that was my one shot. No, you position yourself to be able to shoot again. You correct your mistakes. You react to what your opponents are doing, what the changing conditions on the court, and you position yourself to make good shots, right? And then you take as many shots as you possibly can. This is just like this framing about life in general is so unbelievably helpful. If you're in a relationship and you do what I often do and you say something stupid, you put your foot in your mouth and the person you're in a relationship with looks at you like you're an idiot, you know what's important? That you do it again, that you open your mouth and you speak again, that you don't allow the mistake that you've made to stop you from continuing to improve that relationship, continuing to pursue the relationship, right? If you're looking for a job and you put in an interview or put out an application and you get an interview and you go to the interview and you just botch the interview, guess what you need to do? You need to put out another application. You need to get another interview and you need to try again. You don't just give up and say, well, I guess that's it, right? I'll never be in this industry. And writing is exactly the same. Being an author is exactly the same. One of the best writers I know, actually, just yesterday, said when I was complaining about my writing, he said, "Writing is about the reps. And that is 100% absolutely true, right? Publishing is about the reps. And I understand we all have this idea that like there's this magical path where we release that book, become the international bestseller, retire to our mansion on the beach. But the reality is that people who love writing are going to continue writing. People who want to be authors and share their stories are going to continue publishing. You don't just write something, have it go insanely viral, and then live forever off of that money. Like, that's not how it works. Even the people who, the best writers in the world who have had that kind of story where they've had these tremendous successes, and there are a couple of them in the fantasy space where they've had these just unbelievable successes and written amazing books, and then they haven't written anything for a really, really long time. Maybe they've written one more book, but then they haven't written anything for a long time. Even those writers are still writing. Now, there's complications around their publishing, sure, but they would probably be a lot better off if they just said, it's okay if the next one isn't as good. It's okay if the next one kind of sucks, right? I'm willing to make bad art because I'm ultimately going to get to great art again. And so being willing to just do it again and being willing to just put in the effort and the energy and the focus necessary to recognize your mistakes, recognize where you need to improve, and then do it again, that is the key, right? Because, you can come to a channel like mine and you can listen to all of the advice about how to write well. And you can absorb just a tremendous amount of opinions and advice on how to write well and how to publish well and what the right move is and all of that kind of stuff. And I guarantee you that you are going to find only about 10% of it or 5% of it maybe is actually applicable in your own life or actually proves true in your own life. Now, when we're talking about principles, those are a little bit more universally true. But the reality is that everybody's context is different. Every situation is slightly nuanced. And so you are going to have to take all of that information and you are going to have to try it, see what works for you, disregard the things that don't, apply the things that do, and do it again. This is not the fun and exciting part of it. This is the part of it that is the same as every other job, every other kind of work. You just have to do it again. But what's awesome is that we can learn from our mistakes, we can iterate, we can improve over time, and as we do it again, over and over and over, we start building something of genuine value, right? We build a backlist that is ultimately going to allow us to get that mansion and retire on the beach. I mean, maybe not a mansion, maybe just a small house, but still. If you can build a career as an author and you can focus on just doing it again and doing it again and not getting so caught up in the highs and lows of the sort of everyday experience, you are going to find that one day you will be able to afford that house on the beach. You are going to be able to retire. And you're going to have this backlist that is just going to keep paying you forever. It's really a pretty astonishing, it's a pretty astonishing thing. So anyway, that's the framing. We're going to do it again every single time. All right, rant over. That was a shorter rant. Yesterday's was longer. All right. So, do it again. Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but George R.R. Martin and Patrick Rothfuss are two guys who could really use just a little bit of do it again. Yep. All right. Let's see what we got. Yeah, Alp, you know, it is really hard to both do the creative and the administrative stuff. And that has always been a real struggle for me as well. But yeah, there is very much an inevitability to our success, right? And having that sense of inevitability is, I think, super important for helping us keep our head above water when things don't seem to be going well. Because there are a lot of times when things just don't seem to be going well. You would figure 47 books in, I would be able to just write instead of getting distracted by all of these things, like everything else that's going on. But I find myself constantly distracted. But having that inevitability or holding that mindset of inevitability allows me to just keep going, right? Say, well, I'm just going to do it again, and we'll see where we get to. Yeah, man, Josh, I am 100% with you. It is such a good time to be alive. There have been times throughout history where failure just meant the end. And we are not in that. We are not in that time, which is great. All right. So that was that. It is time to jump into another sprint. All right. Let's go ahead and get into this sprint, and then we'll see where we get to after that. All right. Let's go. Oh no, I'm muted. I said something really cool too. Unfortunately, it's gone. No, I was just saying, V, I absolutely think that is the right call. That's what I would do. I was just saying that, Patreon and Amazon are two different kinds of sales processes. And so in order to be really successful at one, you often have to give up something that will make you successful at the other. And there are very few exceptions to this rule. The couple exceptions are if you have a super hit, like DCC, people are going to want to read it on Amazon, and then a whole different category of people will want to read it on Patreon. And that's just your audience is big enough to support both. For all of the giant serial stories that you see doing really well on Patreon or on subscription, and then they move to Amazon and they're very popular there as well, that actually is, there's a different mechanism that makes that work, which is that almost without exception, and I believe without exception, every single person who does well in both gave away their content for free at a really aggressive pace for like 4 or 5 years. And then they monetized. And that's the trick. So if you can do that, then you might have a chance of doing both really well. But that requires doing it for free for 4 or 5 years. And most people can't do that. So anyway, all right. I think I'm going to be done for today. I am almost finished with my editing, and I have to go and do some social posts, but I can't do that on this computer. And yeah, then I have a meeting this afternoon, and we'll be back tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be a little bit more locked in. I'm not releasing a book tomorrow, so I certainly hope so. I am really excited. Book 5 of the Exlian Syndrome series, which just came out yesterday, Shattered Glory, is a #1 bestseller in post-apocalyptic science fiction. Woo! I'm excited about that. Mark, it really depends on what you're writing. If you're writing something that's going to do really well on Royal Road, then release on Royal Road for sure. Because it just helps you build audience. If you're not, then I would just skip it. And so it really just comes down to what kinds of genres do well. What kind of genres do well on the platform. So anyway, I hope you all have a fantastic day. I hope that the rest of your day goes well and that you are more focused than I am. I am not at all focused, but that's okay. We're going to get to it. I'm going to do some work, keep doing some work, even if it's slow. And I'm going to go post about my books. If you want to be the greatest people of all time, it would be awesome if you could tell somebody you know about my books. It would be even better if you could post about them on social media, which would be great. Thank you. That's my shameless request is if you have enjoyed either the Tower series or the Exlian Syndrome series and you're looking forward to reading either of those books, please go to your favorite book group and post about it. All right, that's it. Thanks. Bye, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be here. Probably. I promise. Probably, I promise.